in that way?
That's what we're looking at right now, correct.
Have you considered any sort of direct route going across due west from 88, building a access point in that way, rather than having to go up past the school and through, down 37?
We actually have talked about that. Part of what we're looking at right now is we're evaluating the bridge on Komorowski Road. We have Cedar Corporation is doing a rating on that bridge right now. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's a couple cars parked out right now doing traffic counts. They're doing them at the Komorowski Prairie Moon intersection. They're right by the railroad track. There's one over at 88 and 35 right now, and there's a guy that's parked in between counting the cars on 35. So we've started the traffic counts. They're going to be doing those today and tomorrow. I'm sure we've increased the traffic a little bit here today. But they are looking at that right now to decide what we can do there and what kind of improvements we'd have to make. If it gets to the point where we have to replace that bridge, then it may become more feasible if we have to build a bridge, it may become more feasible to come straight across, which would be a better option if we have to replace the bridge.
And then as far as the site itself, having not walked the site, but just looked at it from the highway and from the road on the west side of it, it looks to me like there's a great deal of wetlands involved in that site. Have you had any preliminary discussions with the Department of Natural Resources regarding permitting for filling and things of that nature?
Just briefly, what we want to do is get the wetland delineation completed, which was in the CUP. We do have that completed. If you look at that, there's different grades of wetland in there. Some of them are better than others. Some of them have been farmed through for years. One of the things that we're looking at doing is when we have to fill for that track, because the track's going to have to be fairly level. One of the things that we're looking at doing is creating some additional wetlands. So if we take any wetlands out, we'll create wetlands. The other thing that we'll have to do is we fill that, we have to create more volume for the floodplain. So we'll have to dig out other areas, and part of doing that could be by creating wetlands, which we think would be a great idea.
Another question on that road. When you're going up Prairie Moon Road, there you got that left turn there across the tracks. Make that turn just about impossible to make, I would say.
And that's why I say we're looking at what we have to do to improve that. If it gets to us, that part of the road is the worst part because it's the intersection, it's crossing the railroad track, making the turn on Komorowski, and then that bridge. If that gets really expensive, then the next alternative to look at is, okay, if we got to put in a new bridge, we have to change that intersection, maybe it's cheaper just to go straight across the DD8.
One of the concerns I would think you would want to take into account as well is you're crossing the tracks at least 2 times here.
Well, what we're trying to do is only cross it once.
Well, you're going to have to take the empty trucks back out and cross it.
Well, that's true.
And there is an issue there with trying to, I mean, if you're all familiar, there's a lot of trains going.
That's true. Coming in isn't as bad as going out.
Right.
It's on the driver's side if they're making a turn. Going out, you're doing it on the opposite side. That is a tough turn to make.
Right. And just going across the tracks with the number of trains going there, if you're looking at the number of loads you're talking about trying to haul into this facility, I think you're going to have a challenge. You're going to have people, truck drivers and trucks stacked up periodically along the highway there.
That is part of the reason we've got that parking lot shown on here. We do want to be able to have a place to stage trucks so that they aren't all going to be going out at the same time. So that they can clear that area. That bridge is a narrow bridge, so if we do get to where we can use that bridge, they'll space themselves enough that they'll get across before the next one comes so that they aren't going to meet the other one coming in.
Yeah, another thing on the wash plant, you'll have all this excess sand from washing that's usually like, 10% per load is fine sand that you can't use. What, are you going to just store it on site, haul it back out, or?
The wash plant is on the mine sites, and so whatever's not used will go back in for reclamation. That'll be used in reclaiming the mine site.
But down at this, like, there'll still be extra sand, right?
Down here, you make a hydraulic cut in the wash plant. So when it comes down to the dry plant, you basically use everything but the dust material. So we will have to haul the dust materials out. The bag house will collect the ultra fine material that we aren't going to be able to use. That will be hauled back. But other than that, that's a very small amount. It's not 10%. That's a much lower number.
Yeah.
Have you had any meetings with the town of Milton town board as as far as
We've
the
got one
roads?
scheduled for next Wednesday.
Okay.
We've met with the town chairman a couple of times, but we've not met with the board yet, but that's scheduled for next Wednesday.
You know, like in the spring, you know, a lot of townships have put road bans on, and I don't know if they do with those two roads, but I mean, I assume that would have to be taken into consideration, weight-wise.
It will, I mean, we realize we're gonna have to do some improvements on that road. We're gonna have to make it so that we can go on that in the springtime, so that's one of the discussions that we've talked to the town chairman a little bit about, but obviously we have to evaluate that and look at that. And KL Engineering is the one that's doing the traffic counts right now and the traffic impact analysis with 2 intersections. That's one of the things we asked them to look evaluate as well, is that road, what kind of improvements need to be made on it.
And then when you're loading the rail cars out of your drying plant, is that inside? I mean,
Yes.
It's all inside.
All the conveyors are covered as well, and there's a negative pressure, and that comes back to what he was talking about before. There's negative pressure even inside the conveyors. So what you'll see, I could have brought a picture of one, but the hoop cover that goes over it, from there down, there's rubber seals that go down to that run right on the conveyor face itself. So when you pull negative pressure in there, actually, if you have too much pressure in there, you can literally pick up the sand. But it's to pull the dust out. Any of the dust that's above the conveyor, you want to be able to pull out and collect through the bag house. The bag house is, I'm not sure if you understand exactly how a bag house works, but the bag house will have numerous little cages that are about yay big around, and they have a sock on each one. And so you have a fan down on the bottom that creates the air movement through there. It all passes through all these socks. And every now and then you'll do a burst of air to it to knock the stuff off so it falls down to the bottom. And there's a valve on the bottom where you can collect it from there and put that into a hopper that can then be loaded out. The dust collection, like I said before, we'll have it designed so we'll meet or exceed both Department of Natural Resources and minor safety and health administration regulations. We don't want dust in there for our employees either. So we will be collecting all of that and taking care of it.
And with your conversation with Burlington Northern, were they concerned at all as far as crossing the tracks in the short distance that you would, as far as the...
They weren't concerned about it, the Prairie Moon Road. They weren't concerned about all the trucks going across here, so that was one of the things that we took into consideration when we looked at moving across. Because then you'd be, using your analogy, we'd be crossing it 4 times, And so they were a little concerned about that. So that was one of the reasons why we looked at being on the other side for unloading. When we looked at unloading, we thought, well, we heard concerns about the dry plant being so close to the school. Maybe we can move it a little further away and get it on this side as well.
As far as your plant and where the rail loop is, to the east of that, is that more where the wetlands are, correct, or not?
Could you go back one slide, please? If you look at the slide that's coming up now, you can see these green areas that are all circled. Those are all the areas that were delineated as potential wetlands. And some of them, again, like I say, are higher quality wetlands than others. Obviously, the Benzel Pond area, that's all high quality wetland. Some of these out in here that have been farmed through so much are lower quality. The ones that are up top up there, those have a wood ring, wooded area around them. So those haven't been farmed through, so those are a little higher quality as well. Those we aren't even going to touch. Those are further north. The ones that are all within the rail area have all been farmed through, so they are not as high quality wetland. But again, what we'd like to do, as we dig to get material for the rail, we'd like to create some additional wetland.
Point out where that tree line is that runs through the center of the site.
If you look at you can see the power line that's running through here.
Yes.
There's a tree line that runs right along the east side of that power line.
Any other questions on this site here? I want to jump around here maybe a little bit, but go back to the 7 Sands one there, the truck route down 88 to 190 loads a day, don't you think that's quite extensive traffic on that highway to get it down to the plant? That would be
It is,
That's almost, that would be almost 400 trucks on that road, 200 down and 200 back off.
that's correct. ADT on that road is fairly low. It can handle that amount. I know you've heard the DOT talk about State Truck Highway 88. This is much the same thing. It's a road that's designed for much higher traffic than what's on it currently.
There's a lot of safety issues on that road too, a lot of blind corners and hills, and I feel that quite a bit of traffic on that road.
I think, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, 88, you know, the TSIA, traffic safety impact analysis that DOT is doing is coming up. That's going to be done in early to mid-June.
Anything else, Dale?
I see, you know, you've got on here as far as the traffic leaving the plant, like from 7 till 7:40 in the morning. And you know, there's nothing that was in the afternoon. You guys thought about that as far as?
I know on the
After school.
Rolling Acres one, we talked about that we would stop in the afternoon as well. And we'd be willing to do that on this one as well.